Hi, I'm Tom,
I'm Margaret.
and we thought we'd make you a short video to explain about where we live and what we do.
Last time we made a video or visited churches, we were living on Tanna, and we've since moved to Santo, another island where we live and work at Talua Bible College. Talua trains people for Christian ministry in the Presbyterian Church of Vanuatu, the Anglican churches, Church of Christ,
And French Protestant churches. So we moved here to take on new work which builds on what we were doing before on Tanna.
My role is mainly to homeschool the kids, and I also help in Tom's mentoring group, mainly working with the women, and also just join in with the community and build relationships through everyday activities.
And I do two main roles. Although I have a third, but I'm going to put that in another video. But of the two, the first one is that I teach systematic theology. John Frame says that systematic theology is the application of the word by persons to the world. Or Wayne Grudem says that systematic theology is any study that answers the question, what does the whole Bible teach us today? But the context of what today looks like for Wayne Grudem or John Frame is very different to what it looks like to my students and the context of their future ministry. Absolutely, the Bible is universal and it applies to all cultures at all times. But systematics is the job of taking that timeless truth, which is expressed predominantly within a Hebrew worldview, and allow that to be heard and applied within a Ni Vanuatu worldview or whatever culture that you're working within. So my job as a teacher is to allow the students to see what the whole Bible says about a single topic, help them to reflect on 2,000 years of Christian thought, and then enable them to explain and apply that within their own culture. So that's the first thing I do. The second thing that I do is work with Talua to facilitate the development of curriculum. Now, curriculum can mean a lot of things to different people. So what I want to do is explain what I do when I say I'm developing curriculum and explain something of the job at hand for Talua. So basically there's been changes to the laws surrounding tertiary education in Vanuatu, which means that we now need to be registered and accredited with a government body called the VQA. And this has meant that we've really had to rethink the way we do things at Talua to bring our courses in line with national frameworks and also the government's Human Resources Development Plan. But we have to adapt these frameworks to our own beliefs about theological education and also to what the church wants for its curriculum, so that it's not just my curriculum, but that the church has ownership of it. Now, when we create curriculum, what we need to do is, if you like, we start at the end and then work backwards from that point. So before we even decide on the level of our courses, what we need to do is to work as a staff to think about what our graduates are going to be doing and then analyse that role and then match that up with our curriculum framework. And when we did that, what we discovered is that if we're preparing people for pastoral ministry in Vanuatu today, then we really need to be helping as many students as we can to achieve degree level, which is, in our framework, a level 7 out of 10 levels. And the reason for that is that the context of ministry in Vanuatu today is changing and becoming increasingly complex due to the coming of new cults and religions, due to changing social problems, due to new technologies and the changing interface between global and local cultures. And it's only really at level 7 that we actually teach people to do things like analyse and adapt, to work with autonomy and initiative and judgment, and to work in diverse contexts. Now, according to VQA rules, for us to take somebody into a degree, then they need to have year 13 or the equivalent, which is the final year of schooling in Vanuatu. But the problem we have
is that most of the people who are putting up their hands for vocational ministry usually only have a Year 10 education or even below that. So somebody with Year 10 is ready to enter Certificate 1 level. So they need to progress through these levels before they're ready to come into a diploma or a degree. So the challenge is creating a system of theological education that could take anybody in the church who's showing the character required for Christian leadership, taking them from where they are to where the church needs them to be. And this is done by creating a series of steps, or what we call an academic pathway. So what we've done is to create a series of a total of 7 different courses, taking them from below level 1 through to level 7. So our courses start here with a Bislama literacy course for those people who haven't finished Year 10. And Bislama is the national language of Vanuatu, which we're going to use to teach levels 1 through to 3. People will move on to a Certificate 1 in ministry, which is will be taught in our presbytery Bible schools like Enifa, where I used to teach. Then there's a combined Certificate 2 and 3 in ministry. People will graduate out of either of these courses into roles like Sunday school teachers, youth leaders, Bible study leaders, but more people, or some of those people, perhaps after a period, will come back and move on to our Certificate 4, which is, if you like, our bridge course between the certificate and then our higher education courses. Once they move through that, they can move on to a combined advanced diploma and bachelor. Some people, depending on their level and abilities, will finish with an advanced diploma, and some will finish with a degree. And they'll move out into pastoral ministry roles in different contexts around Vanuatu and maybe overseas. And of course, people can come into this system at different places depending on their educational background. Once we have these courses, we need to hold extensive consultation within the church to create what are called graduate profiles. And these are descriptions of the knowledge, the Christian character, and the ministry skills that the people who are going to actually use our graduates or employ them want them to have. And once we have these, then we need to create curriculum documents containing all the information that the Dean of Studies and the staff need to run the course. And each subject needs a descriptor. So with 7 levels, we're going to need at least 84 descriptors, plus whatever we do with the literacy program. Now you might ask why we use such a Western formal literacy-based form of education in what's predominantly an oral culture that favours informal learning. And the answer to that is basically that it's the law. That's what the Vanuatu government wants us to do. But it just means that when we create curriculum, I need to be really aware of those things and incorporate oral and informal learning into our teaching, assessment and field experience. Another question that I get asked quite a bit is why don't we just use another curriculum that is created elsewhere? And the answer to that, well, the first answer is firstly that I don't know of any theological education curriculum that takes people from an equivalent of level 1 through to 7 with all those levels not repeating themselves and showing students how they're advancing through that. So I just don't know of any system like that. Secondly, when we did consultation with the church, the thing that kept coming up over and over again was the idea of context. People really want curriculum. They want a course that makes people ready for ministry in Vanuatu today. And the way I think about it is like hand-me-down clothes. So you might get a pair of jeans from your brother, and that's good because you've got a pair of jeans and you can go about in them. But it's not the same as going to the store and getting the right size and the style that you want, and then they're yours. And I think that's the way that people in Vanuatu feel about their theological education. It's like they've always had a hand-me-down system. and they want a system that suits their needs. And it means it's a huge job. It's a big job. I came here to Talua to work on one course for the Presbytery Bible colleges, like down in Enifa where I was, and now because of the changes in law, it's blown out to 7. So I don't think that I can. I don't believe I can finish that. We want to leave at the end of this year because we feel like we've come to the end of what we can do with homeschooling. But we really want to engage with you, our supporters, in thinking about whether it's possible that I could continue to work with Talua once I'm back in Australia to finish this curriculum and maybe even teach as a visiting lecturer if I get invited.
Thank you to all those who support us in prayer and giving. We love what we do, and we believe that it's the work that God has equipped us for to help build His church, and we couldn't do it without your partnership.
Yeah, and when we were last in Australia and actually New Zealand as well, and we came around all your churches, there were lots of people who asked us whether they could help us financially, and the answer at the time was no, we had all the help that we needed. But if you still feel like that, now's your opportunity.
We know that this year there are people struggling everywhere, and we're also praying for you.
Thanks.